And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Peaky Blinders podcast by Story Archives on the Soapbox Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mario, alongside
Zachary. Welcome, everybody.
How you all doing? We are here with episode 6 of season 3. We're wrapping up season 3 tonight. And on to season 4 after this, but I forgot a ton of things in this episode.
Oh, so did I.
Little details here and there. I feel like a broken record because I feel like I've been saying that all season. But in terms of the plot and who was involved and who was working with Tommy, I forgot completely that Tatiana was actually working with Tommy and stealing from her own family. I had forgotten about that.
I knew there was something at the crossroads or at some road or whatever with her, but I could not remember what the plot was there. But
yeah,
I remembered once we got to the end.
I had even forgotten who the snitch was of the plans with the tunnels. Now
Yeah.
I had immediately thought that it was Alfie, but at the same time, when he brought up the portrait artist, I was like, "Damn, was the portrait artist?"
I thought that for
The
a moment.
snitch?
I'm like, that's why he's in this show.
Yeah, yeah.
Wrong.
Super random, but another great one, and probably one of the darker episodes of the Peaky Blinders because you get resolution, but at the cost of certain characters' moralities. In this episode, you get Michael, who probably has the most tragic character arc in this particular season, I would say. And Arthur, who is given the task of blowing up a train that has 6 innocent lives on it. Because
Yeah.
Tommy goes haywire when Charlie's kidnapped, and it's just essentially whatever he has to do to get his kid back.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, don't mess with Tom and his family. He'll do anything he can to make sure he gets it back.
All right, well, let's get into the episode recap. I'm excited. Let's do this.
Same. This episode was like, it felt a lot longer than I remember too. Like,
Did it?
Or at least
This
than
one
I expected it to.
This one zoomed by for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I was watching it and I'm like, we're about at the end of the episode. And then I look at the timeline. I'm like, I'm halfway through the episode.
You know, at the start of the episode, you had made a comment about him wearing a Don Draper type hat. Don Draper from Mad Men, for those who haven't watched it, that Tommy's wearing. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, why is he wearing this hat? But it's probably because he had his skull broken in half and he has that scar on the side of his head.
I
Right?
would imagine. But I mean, he does have that long top.
But
we'll just cover it up.
I didn't see the scar at all in this episode. I'm thinking to myself, how is it that his scar has healed so beautifully? And I got in a car accident in 2018. I have like a little thing that they stapled up on my head. And I still have a scar there. And meanwhile, he's 3 weeks removed from having his cranium cracked open.
Yeah.
And he has a literal buzz cut on the side and doesn't have a scar.
I mean, listen, I ran into a coffee table when I was a kid and I still have a scar
Yeah.
on my eyebrow.
I want to meet his surgeon.
Yeah, I need some help.
Well, we start the episode with the opening of the Grace Shelby Institute for, did they say uninsured children?
Yeah, basically.
Uninsured children?
But it's for orphan children.
Orphan children. It's pretty much disenfranchised children in all of Birmingham. And we get a first look at politician Shelby here. I don't think, at least I'm not accustomed to seeing Tommy giving speeches in front of people who aren't
Anybody.
criminals,
Family.
for the most part,
Yeah.
or family members. And here we have a lot of people in law enforcement in his pocket as Tommy's giving this speech about pretty much protecting Birmingham, but almost like Iron Fist protection. Like, they're from Birmingham, we protect our streets. But it's weird because he has been the dominating authoritarian figure or dictator of Birmingham for like the last, I don't know what year this season takes place in, but at least 5 years of the Peaky Blinders wreaking havoc. Is the scene with Hughes when Tommy's spending a moment with looking at the portrait of Grace and Hughes coming in and interrupting that moment, even going so far as to step in front of Tommy and his view of his wife.
Yeah.
When you're hated, when you're a hated character on this show, they really make you hate the character. when he steps in front, it's just an absolute, just like, you're dead, buddy. You're a walking corpse.
Yeah. There's so many pieces in this episode with Father Hughes where I'm just like, I just want Tommy to like pull a gun and blow his braids out or something.
Yeah. Michael has his first, I think, eye-to-eye encounter with Hughes, who I don't think remembers him.
I don't think so. I mean, he was a little kid. I really don't think he'd remember Michael. And I mean, one of probably many little kids.
Yeah,
being realistic.
It's disturbing to see him walk away with a bunch of children.
Oh, yeah. Extremely.
Yeah. Well, speaking of children, Charlie in the following scene gets kidnapped in this whole...
after party.
Yeah, and this whole kind of like, he gets lost in the shuffle. Somebody picks up Tommy. It looked like a maid or a house nurse.
I said it was like a nurse or something, yeah.
Yeah, she picked up Tommy, and I guess she was the culprit working with Hughes, who kidnaps him. Mm-hmm. Which sends everything into a whirl.
Yeah, I mean, this episode picks up extremely quickly. You know, one of my favorite parts of this scene, though, is John and Arthur trying to break the bad news to Tommy while they're just sipping tea.
break the bad news about...
So they were trying to tell him and inform him of... gosh, what was it about?
The issue with the tunnelers?
Train, right? Yeah, it was the tunnelers. They hit a like clay or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or there's something that they hit while they were digging a tunnel, and they basically had like drain water out because it was not safe. Turning into sludge.
Tommy gives the instruction to dig a sinkhole.
Yeah, that's right.
To get rid of the. God, that's a job right there. That's a terrible job.
Yeah. And I mean, you're digging a long way. Did you notice that? I want to say in this entire scene, it's all almost all one extremely chaotic shot.
I noticed a lot of cuts. I noticed a lot of cuts though. I think it's one shot, but they cut it up to make it feel more like you're out of control. Like things are skipping. You're forgetting certain moments, and you see Tommy kind of unravel as he begins looking for Charlie.
Yeah, it almost feels like you have these little like time skips in there, just like you were saying.
He randomly throws up. I think that's pretty normal though. It's funny though that they never throw up for the amount of alcohol they consume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this little bit of stress.
Little,
but you know what I mean.
If your kid's kidnapped by a known, and he knows it's Hughes at this point.
Of course, who else would it be?
At this point, he has to know it's Hughes. There's not much of a. I mean, who else? I don't know what other player. I know he has a lot of enemies, but it's hard to imagine who else would have just done that randomly to him. At this point, he doesn't understand that Hughes and the Economic League are onto every single detail of his plan, from sabotaging the explosion of the train with the Soviets to the tunnel that he's digging to rob the Royalists blind.
Yeah. You know, I really like how Arthur steps it up.
Yeah.
He really came in and was helpful here.
No cocaine Arthur here. It was straight up brotherly moment. Literally holding on to Tommy for dear life. Yeah, I gotta say I had a personal disappointment. As I told you, I do love a good heist.
Yeah,
and we were robbed of a good heist because of this kidnapping.
It's true.
Because the whole thing's a jumble. He's got to get these jewels to Hughes because he gives him the conditions. Hey, I'll give you your son back, but you gotta blow up the train. Mm-hmm. And I want those jewels. All those jewels you're gonna get, I want them. Because we have this Economic League guy who his wife loves Fabergé eggs.
From the Odd Fellows.
They're all the odd. He's the odd fellow too.
Well, there's a group called the Odd Fellows.
It's the same name. It's the same group. That was my thing last episode where I was like, what do I call them by? They're the Economic League, the Odd Fellows, Section D. They're all the same. It's the same group they're referring to. Well, Tommy now is on the clock. And so we were robbed of a Russian heist. I wanted to have the whole tunnel heist, you know?
Yeah. It'd have been nice to see them back in their heyday. Just
I wanted like an Ocean's 11 type style heist gone wrong. And then Tommy, John Boy, and Arthur are in there. That's an alternate ending to this episode, but instead we get this kind of rushed to the finish line, which is great drama, but
oh yeah, there's so much that happens in this episode. It's crazy.
well, you get like this 3-way montage going on between the different storylines, because particularly 4 people go through hell in this episode. Tommy, Michael, Arthur, and John.
Yeah.
Polly goes through a little bit of emotional turmoil, as it's alluded that the portrait artist was the snitch who gave away all the details. But, well, actually, no, I forget. Everybody gets arrested at the end. So
yeah, exactly.
So I guess there's more than just turmoil for Polly.
A little bit. Some turmoil and an arrest.
Yeah, and an arrest for murder, of all things. So
yeah.
The mad scramble happens here as Tommy realizes his entire plan has gone to shit. And now he's just racing against the clock to save his boy's life. You get the sense of Tommy's done for if Charlie's dead. As a human, he's just...
I actually had in my notes, like, Charlie's like the last good thing that exists in his life.
In terms of his memory of Grace, too.
Yeah.
If he loses that, it's not that he is completely inhuman at this point, but he would get to a point of such coldness, I think, that he'd probably be a monster. This would be his villain origin story of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely he would be worse than a Sabini and everybody else we've seen so far combined.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he does the natural thing, I think, because when he's done talking to Hughes, he has no idea who spoke, and the only people he told about the jewels and the plan of everything was Arthur, John, and Polly. And Ada as well.
Yeah.
So with that being said, he's questioning their loyalties. Now, I found it somewhat strange that he didn't consider Alfie at all, but maybe he had. Maybe he was already just trying to poke for holes to see who had spoken and who hadn't.
Well, I don't know. I think they kind of just cleverly left that out of the dialogue here so that we got that, whoa, what the hell moment.
With Alfie?
Yeah, like, I totally forgot about that.
Because
if it was like, I only told everybody in this room and Alfie. Yeah. It would just be like, it's just probably Alfie.
Well, the reason you get this sense of like you don't know who to trust is because you have in the previous episode Polly confessing, or the 2 episodes ago, Polly confessing to the priest about killing a holy man.
That's true.
So you never know. Maybe John told Esme and she said something to somebody who she thought was innocent. Let it slip. Exactly. Linda seems a little bit too smart with that, considering the robbery was supposed to secure the money for her to leave the country. I also don't know
who else she would be around that would want that information. I mean, some other extreme Christians or something.
Notice Tommy never questions the loyalty of Johnny Dogs. I feel like...
because he's awesome.
I wish we had like a prequel episode as to why that trust is so deep.
I don't know. The thing that I always thought was interesting about that, though, is because he always runs with the Lees, right?
Yeah, and the Lees were the rival gang, too.
Yeah, it's almost like you shouldn't trust him, but...
Johnny Dogs is related to the Lees. He's kin.
Yeah. I wonder if he's somehow related to the Shelbys.
Well, the Shelbys, have like gypsy royalty in their blood.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason when he does to arrange the marriage between Esme and John, that's one of the things that's brought up.
Yeah.
He has I don't know who it is, but I know he has some sort of, like in their system of rank, somebody in his family was important.
Mm-hmm. I am looking up to see if there's anything, but nothing's coming up.
With who in his
Johnny
family?
Dogs. Yeah.
Polly, in this episode, in her emotional distress of thinking that Ruben was only interested in her for information, has an identity crisis for a moment. But it's one of the moments where I get so relieved in the episode is that she kind of snaps back from that and doesn't let something like a false report from Tommy ruin something that could be happy, that could bring happiness to her,
Yeah. I mean, it takes her a little bit, but she finally does.
But she does kind of snap out of it quickly. After pulling a gun on him, of course.
Well, yeah.
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 On to perhaps the scene of the episode, which is Tommy's encounter with Alfie. And Alfie, who does give some good clapbacks at Tommy here for his response of shock and awe that he would make a deal with Section D. But Alfie, his mistake was leaving out a name that Tommy was expecting to be on a list of people who would be interested to buy a Fabergé egg for their wife.
Yeah.
Which Tommy was able to get pretty quickly on his end.
Extremely quickly. I mean, I'm sure he already knew. Well, I mean, he already knew it was somebody from the Oddfellows that was interested. So, I mean, I get the quickness on that one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have Alfie, who had a deal to make with Section D, but at the same time didn't know that they were going to use Tommy's son in a kidnapping of sorts. So it's a moment where you have Alfie who's protecting himself, but at the same time calling out Tommy for the fact that he's accusing Alfie for breaking some sort of code of honor that Tommy breaks every day by either killing people or holding people hostage or whatever he does, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You get the sense here that Alfie almost wants Tommy to kill him. Did you get that vibe as well?
It does seem like that.
Michael does step in and kills his first person in this scene. Michael actually ends up killing 3 people in this episode. And
3?
Yeah.
I only remember 2.
He kills Alfie Soldier, he kills Hughes, and he kills his own child via abortion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So he actually...
I forgot about that one.
He kills 3 people. It's almost like the death of Michael's innocence in this episode. Any shred of innocence that he had left is gone.
Yeah.
And I was almost hoping for a redemption factor that he wouldn't have gone through with the abortion at the end of the episode because of the lives that he had taken earlier in the episode. Maybe he would have had a change of heart.
Mm-hmm.
But he takes the step anyways and does it, and goes even a step further and leaves his girl there to do it alone.
Yeah, well, I think these 2 first killings were his stepping stones to just, being able to do it. Because he was very broken up about the fact that he was going to have her do that. If you remember, look at the last episode. Like, he couldn't even make the phone call.
Yeah, he was.
But in this one, this was like reactionary. He's just like, okay, bang. And then, he wanted to do Father Hughes. I think that kind of just like, I don't know, gave him the drive to just deal with it, get the other stuff done.
I think it was that he was in such distress that he really wasn't in a position to make any sort of decision at that point.
Yeah, I have a note towards the end of this where, you get a moment where Paulie looks at Michael and Michael just looks like he's looking through her. He just looks like a ghost of himself.
He looks almost deranged.
Yeah.
He looks deranged. You don't get the sense, I mean, when he's communicating with with John and Arthur and telling them that he killed somebody, they're very interested to know of how he held up. Probably because maybe they've seen people who've killed people and didn't.
Sometimes you lose it
and didn't handle the stress of it well.
Yeah.
And he even has like a tear rolling down his eye as he says, "No, Tommy says I did good. I did good."
Yeah.
Although I
mean,
I don't think Tommy would say differently if he had done bad necessarily.
I don't think so. Here we have the lovely artist. I just don't know why he's here. Honestly,
he's in love with Paulie, man.
No, but how did they meet? I wish we could find out about that.
I'm not as concerned about how they met. I'm concerned about why he would choose to wedding crash a gangster's wedding.
Well, I mean, that's kind of my point. Like, why? What drove him to show up there?
They never tell us what his connection is to them.
Interesting. Well, Paulie, like you were already talking about earlier, pulls a gun on him, and he kind of pleads for I don't know if I would say his life or anything like that, but
He's trying to get her to see
basically tries to
sense.
tell her, like, yeah, it wasn't me. Whatever you heard, it wasn't me. I
Yeah.
was looking for you all night. Trying to build up the courage to show up, I guess.
I still don't trust him.
He looks fishy, man. He's tall.
What does that have to do with it? I'm tall.
I wasn't done. There's just something in the way that the way he looks.
Imagine if I said that he's short. I mean, you're not short, but you know,
I'm not that short.
To me,
I'm pretty standard. Yeah, you're like a damn giant.
We'll take no discrimination about tall people here. Well,
yeah.
what's the name of the guy that Tommy has the conversation with? And he says, "Are you scared of Section D in the future, or of the Peaky Blinders at 11:43 or something like that?"
Oh, I don't remember who it was. I don't think it was these guys.
It was the guy. It's the guy who Arthur's pretty much hanging.
Gilbert Palmer?
Yes, him. For him to get the information out of him. Mm-hmm. And he does successfully get the information as to where Charlie is being held. But why would he be sharing this information with everybody?
I don't know, man.
And not having any guards there to protect the outside?
I mean, sometimes you just get careless when you feel like everything, you know, I'm powerful. I got everything to
Give
control.
me a break. You've kidnapped a gang leader's son, and you're going to just have no guards outside? I'm glad he didn't, because it would have made things more complicated, but it's just kind of like, really? There's not two guards outside?
Nah. He's got this on his own.
Hughes,
I guess you don't want two guards outside when you're...
Hughes seems a little bit too... how do I put it? Cautious to let something like that happen.
Yeah, but maybe something like that would kind of blow his cover, assuming he had much of a cover, right? Like,
oh, you mean like in the church that people would assume that he has some nefarious...
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. Good point.
You're gonna have some priest or father, whatever you call him, walking around with two like mafia-looking gangsters just guarding you.
Who are these guys outside the church?
Yeah. They said I couldn't come in unless...
How about like if you're a priest and you kidnap somebody's kid, that you don't hold them in the place you work? How about that?
But it's not a place you would suspect.
Really? That's the first place I'd look.
I don't know.
Because I would be like, there's no way somebody's dumb enough to...
Well, if you were Tommy and I guess knew him, you would think that, right? But if you were anybody else, it's like, there's probably a reason why the kid's in a church.
No, I'm saying from the perspective of Arthur and John having to look for him. Like, how about we...
Oh, yeah. I would definitely look where I would go where he works and go where he lives.
Granted,
That's for sure.
We don't know if this is the only church that he works at, of course.
That's true.
Seems to be a church that's low-key, because Charlie's like in this little room that looks abandoned. He's just oblivious like to it all, just playing with like a little spoon, oblivious to everything.
Oh, he's having fun. This entire episode, he's just chilling, just playing with some toys.
We got to give like a thumbs down to whoever cut baby Charlie's hair.
What? You don't like baby Charlie's hair?
Look at baby Charlie's hair. So I guess it's not too bad. It looks like
it's got the blinder cut. It was getting there. It's getting there. It's kind of like a bowl cut with just like shaved sides.
Yeah, at this point we get into probably the longest portion of the episode, or single section of the episode, which is the cutting between Arthur and John preparing for the train explosion. Tommy actually conquering his fear of going inside the tunnel and going in there himself to finish the job, to finish the tunnel into the Russian estate.
Yeah, he walked in there as almost he had no fear. I mean, he just like no hesitation, just jumped in. Starts hammering away or chiseling away, whatever you want to call it.
It's to be expected, right? Your son's life is on the line. You're gonna. It's if he had time to think about it, it probably wouldn't have been the same. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't, because they put him on that I think a 5 a.m. I think was the time, or 5 o'clock. I keep on remembering 5 o'clock as like the deadline.
That was the deadline that I recall as well.
And the final scene that they're cutting between is Michael arriving to assassinate Hughes. And he insists to go in there alone to do the killing.
By order of the Peaky Blinders.
This is a order.
No, this is a fucking order.
This is a order. How about Finn? Could they not have gotten like a phone connection a little bit closer to the lever? Why is there not a phone a little bit closer by? They're in an office.
I don't know.
Why is Finn doing a 100-yard sprint to get this information?
It's a payphone. I don't know if there was a. I mean, I guess there just wasn't a phone in the office.
Why are they?
Why
are they cutting the deadline so close to 10 p.m.? The deadline for the diamonds is not till for the jewelry is not till 5.
Well,
so the signal was not till 10 p.m.
Though. Yeah, but remember, part of the plan here is that they don't want to blow up the train.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If your deadline with Section D is 5, I think it was 5, then why are they doing 10 p.m. as the cutoff to get the message across? Like, why not make it 12 a.m.? Give yourself at least a 2-hour cushion. You still got 5 hours to spare to blow up the train. As it is, they already did the strike in the factory. So you could send the train at whatever time you want and blow it up at whatever time you want. You get what I'm saying?
I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know.
Was it 10 p.m. or am I talking crap? I could have swore it was 10 p.m. Can you do a quick little Google search there?
Sure.
How you like Father Hughes' martial arts experience, just whacking that gun out of his face?
I love it when people get so up close and personal with stuff like that. They act like retarded and, you just knocked the gun out of my hand. No, I might die. Stand at a distance and pull the trigger. Get the job done. Effectiveness and efficiency is the key.
Oh, I thought you were quoting a show.
No, it
sounded like a quote for some reason. I'm waiting for you to tell me the time of the deadline here.
I am trying to pull that up.
In the meantime, the gun assault goes wrong for Hughes, and Michael ends up having to get up and close and personal with a knife and finish the job. I'm very grateful that Charlie didn't witness the murder. It would have been a pretty traumatic experience.
That would have been really bad. Really, really bad.
See, like, what is Finn doing here?
Finn is running.
Yeah, no. Finn is not near the phone. He's running to go pick up the phone. Why are you not stationed right next to the phone? You got one job, dude. One job. I mean,
Finn's always been letting us down, running down into pickup or into the car where there's a grenade just planted there.
Yeah.
Tommy had to save him.
But those extra few seconds, that's the difference between a life, my friend. Any word on the time here?
I cannot find the time written anywhere.
Let's just call it 10 p.m. Don't worry about it. Need you back here.
All right.
Yeah. Finn, you little...
I know.
I'm sorry, man. You got to find a way to have the phone near the lever to blow up the thing.
I also got to say, Finn was just pretty damn close
to this explosion. They should have killed him in the episode.
I mean, Arthur and John are just like
at least have like
hunched over and you can still see like shrapnel blow by them,
or have it like a dramatic blowback where Finn's running and then have him like yanked back by like a rope or something that they do with some CGI and yank him back like 15 feet.
Look at this shot with Michael and Charlie. You've literally got
I made note of that
in
one.
The left. Yeah, I mean he's in the cold, he's covered in blood, and then you got fun little young Charlie just in the warm light.
Yeah, it's
contrast.
It's like the shot you see after Michael has killed Hughes, and you see it's the loss of innocence. Really, you see like a baby who's innocent, and then you have Michael covered in blood, and just that complete loss of it, And there's even a wall dividing them. Although they're close, they're far away from each other. It's like even his interaction with Paulie that you mentioned is a ghost of himself at this point.
Yeah. Do you think they're projecting that Charlie may grow up to be this
Michael type?
Yeah.
Well, you always wonder. I mean, especially with Grace out of the picture, what is Charlie going to become when he's older? My guess would be that Tommy would try his best to keep him away from it.
That would be my thought.
But the natural human nature would probably kick in. And seeing your father and your uncles and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, just think about Michael. Michael had nothing to do with this only a couple years ago. Literally in the last season, he was just introduced to the family. And, here we are, one season later, here he is killing the third person right now.
Yeah, it's disappointing that this is the decision he makes, because had he handled everything a little better, she seemed like a good girl.
I was gonna say, like, in this scene, like, she really does seem like a good girl.
Like, the whole time, I always thought that they had like a nice little fling, that she didn't like the life that her parents set up for her.
Mm-hmm.
And he really does betray her here, and his own child. So it's dark and dingy. He just drops.
Creepy. It's not the place you want to be alone.
Of course not. Tommy arrives back to his manor or estate to see Charlie and has a moment with him. Talk about a day for Tommy, huh?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Although it's been worse for everybody else than him, for the most part.
I mean,
he did get his hands dirty for sure, but
he got his hands dirty.
I don't know. I wouldn't have brought my baby so fast back to the manor. I would have kept him in Birmingham with my family.
Well, I mean, at this point, you know, they've already disposed of the evil that they needed to, that was causing risk to Charlie. So I don't think it'd be that big of a deal.
You know, at the end, I was shocked. I had forgotten completely that Tatiana, and this is the jewel exchange where Tommy brings the jewels to her and she gives him cash. I had forgotten this completely.
I forgot about it, but the moment I saw this, I was like, oh, I remember.
She's the MVP of the season for me, because I remember hating her character, or just being annoyed with her generally. But as I rewatched, part of me wishes for this chaotic relationship with her and Tommy to continue. I just feel like
does he ever visit her in Vienna?
She has a likeness to Grace. They have the same nose and the eyes, if you look at them closely.
I could see that.
I think that was a point of casting. I didn't realize it until this scene. I could be wrong. Just a theory.
I mean,
also, you couldn't.
It's fairly similar.
You couldn't pay me to be this broker. I'm gonna broker this deal of stolen jewels between a gangster and a crazy Russian royalist.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
Literally the middle of nowhere.
How did
on the border of somewhere, I'm sure.
The middle of nowhere. Nobody to protect me. Nothing. Talk about somebody who handles killing people well. Tatiana just kills this guy with no remorse.
Oh, I know. It's nothing. This is just standard operating procedure.
I love how she tells Tommy she's going to Vienna. A man's waiting for her, and Tommy goes, "Poor man." He has no idea what he's in store for.
I love the fact that she threw in an extra 5,000 pounds for the sex.
Well, she tried
Tommy the prostitute.
She tried to get an extra 5, right, to help him with the loss of his wife, but Tommy drew the line on that one.
It wasn't that
with the
good.
final little jab at her. He says, "You didn't come even close."
Yeah. Didn't even come close. I love it. I don't know, man. She delivers a line here where it's like, oh, these jewels have seen much worse. Obviously, this is the kind of stuff that goes on all the time in Russia.
Well, she kind of gives like a throwback to when she said the blue jewel was the sapphire was cursed that he put around Grace's neck. He says all the jewels are cursed, but it's almost like they're not cursed for the reason you think they're cursed, Mr. Shelby. Yeah. They're cursed because we're cursed as people. We've done terrible things, and that's the reason they're cursed. It's blood money. Essentially, it's not it's not gypsy supernatural stuff that he's scared of or anything like that. It's for the sake. I mean, you can say that they are cursed in the sense that what he does comes back to him. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, look, think about it. He's not in the situation unless he's in the situations that he's in. Charlie gets kidnapped because of the nefarious stuff he gets up to.
His wife dies because of the stuff he's up to.
Exactly. So, in a sense, they are cursed.
His entire family becomes arrested because of what he's up to. Look at the money that he's given.
I can't recall of another show that hides as much information as Peaky Blinders hides from its audience.
What do you mean by that?
Tommy always has another wrinkle to his plan that is not shared with the camera. Like, we didn't know Tatiana was in on the jewels, right? That's true. I mean, we knew she was in on his jewels, but not on her family's jewels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, the funny thing about that, though, is I never feel like they're just doing that. And I get the feeling where it's like, oh, of course you would use that because it's just a simple way to cover that up. Sure.
Yeah.
I never get that feeling from this show.
No, I don't think it's that they're hiding like deficiencies or anything like in the script or anything like that. I think it's just we're along for the ride too. We're like his family. We have no idea.
Yeah.
We've been set up for murder or some crime as well. And the
Yeah.
whole time Arthur's thinking he's getting away. He's like, why is my brother being a douchebag and not giving me a farewell? It's because Tommy knows he's not making it off the property the whole time.
Yep.
How do you like Lizzie's surge? Like she has surged onto the scene here. She's like continued since season 1 as a major character or a major supporting character.
I mean, she's definitely growing up throughout all of this. I mean,
I would have never guessed that from season 1 that would have happened.
I didn't think she'd make it past season 1. Not because she was a bad actor or anything, but because I mean her character was a prostitute who John Boy was supposed to marry, but
and then she kind of just gets written off there. I thought at least.
Yeah.
But then she comes back into play at the finale of season 2, where she's Tommy uses her essentially to seduce the field sergeant or whatever the hell that guy was.
But even in the beginning of season 2, right? I mean, Tommy buys her a typewriter, and because obviously they were still close together, they were lovers of some sort.
I enjoy her character arc as somebody who, you know, she was serving as a prostitute, and then she's made something of herself working for the company, and she's in love with Tommy, tries to be his compass at times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so clearly one-sided.
Yeah.
That it's hard to see her impact. Now, the final scene of the episode is Tommy meeting with the entire family and divvying up the money. He's kind of dug himself a hole because he accused pretty much everybody that in that room that he trusted of snitching. And so there's already kind of like a divide between them in this meeting. And Paulie's trying to get him to stop doing this in this moment where he's distressed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But he's kind of being like a whiny, you know, woe is me, like you all use me for the money type of thing. You do it for the money, but it's kind of like a violin moment for Tommy. You took the king's shilling, you've got to do the king's killing or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
it didn't quite rhyme like that, but
I like it though. You like that?
If you take the king's shilling,
you got to do the
killing.
I like that. I'm coining that. The king's shilling, right. The king's killing. King's killing for the king's shilling. Well, he divvies up the money. Everyone pretty much takes their cash except for Lizzie, I think.
Yeah, she's the only one that throws it back.
Yeah.
You get Linda, who gets £3,000 in the hopes that she'll forgive Tommy.
I thought
Michael gets £10,000.
I thought it was 41,000 for Linda, plus an additional 3 for the.
It was an additional 3 for the, in hopes that she forgives him, because John Boy and Arthur both get like a massive amount. I mean, they had to.
Yeah, obviously
kill 6 people.
I mean, Michael should be making a lot too. He saved Charlie.
Michael made £10,000, 5 for the cutting and 5 for the killing.
5 for the cutting.
That's what he said.
Cutting Hughes, and then the killing of Alfie's man. Maybe.
I do believe. Yeah.
Yeah. By far, of all the season endings of Peaky Blinders, this one is perhaps my favorite of all of them. Where the family,
more than
season
2.
I love season 2 as well, but I love this ending. It's up there. It's like 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
The utter horror. It's like the perfect way to end the season. It's
I know
it's cliffhangery.
One hell of a cliffhanger, man.
I'm okay with cliffhangers every once in a while, but the utter rage of the scene of everybody being betrayed. Is Finn in that room too?
I would imagine so.
Why is he freaking? Why is he freaking out?
Why is he or isn't he?
Look at him. He's like covering his head, like he's not getting arrested.
He was involved with the train blowing up.
Yeah, but he's not listed there.
Well, I don't know about that, man. I think everybody in here gets arrested, but like the maid and his kid and Tommy.
I've seen a lot. Ada doesn't get arrested either.
No. I know Paulie gets arrested, and they all
might get taken away, but they're not all arrested.
What, if they don't all, well, yeah, okay. I was gonna say they at least aren't here, because at the end of this, you know, we get a shot from behind of Tommy, who's just kind of staring out his driveway as all of the vehicles drive off with his family, and it's like you could hear a pin drop.
It's kind of interesting because the season opens with him in his office, overwhelmed by his wedding party, and he walks out to like the party going on, and here he walks out to the party being like broken up by cops.
Yeah,
you know. Arthur looks like like he has rabies when he has the stick up against his throat. Is it when Paulie's hitting the wall there? Is that giving away the fact that this is a set? Because the wall's like coming apart.
I don't know. I did kind of notice a little movement there.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Maybe the walls weren't built too well back then. Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, this was a real house, right? Mm-hmm. Didn't they shoot this in a real house? I mean,
I think it's a section of a house, if I'm not mistaken. I wonder if they talked about it in the scene when they did it. They were like, well, realistically, 4 people are being arrested. But it's going to be kind of weird if we leave Linda, Esme, and everybody else behind. So it's like,
just chilling.
Let's just put them all in the truck because we want that epic shot of Tommy at the end. And we don't think about it twice. But that's how the season ends, is Tommy alone in his house, in his big old house.
That's one heck of a twist, his office, man. I mean, everybody's already a little tortured there, and then you've got everybody gets some money. Okay, farewell, Tommy. Nope, sorry, you're all getting arrested.
You're all getting arrested, and just trust me, I'll get you out. And he, he did it once for Arthur. What's to say he can't do it again?
That's true. He's got a lot more than Arthur to deal with this time now.
This is true. Because you figure it's still Section D who has wanted his family arrested. It's surprising to me that Tommy wasn't on the list of people being arrested, though. Shouldn't you arrest the ringleader?
I mean, if you did, like, there wouldn't be much more of a show. I don't know. How are you going to get out when you yourself are in jail?
I mean, if you're Tommy in jail, it's not like you're going to be able to trust Finn to get you out or anything like that.
Unless this is like, they wanted to kind of torture him, or I don't know. Maybe somebody else is involved with this.
Yeah.
Churchill still needs him to do something at some point, so he doesn't want to.
That's true.
Take him off.
We don't see Churchill all season for the most part, but we do know he's working for him, so he's got some favors to call in.
That's for sure.
I will say this: this is the end of season 3, and we head into season 4 now, with the whole family in jail. So we need to see where that picks up from. But right now, as we're recording this, it's June 9th. Tomorrow is June 10th and the official release of the final season of Peaky Blinders. Season 6 on Netflix in the U.S. And we're excited to see the reaction, at least in the States, and see if anybody... see what the just general pulse of the season is for all the Peaky fans out there and who are tuning in. We already have season 6 completely recorded. If you're listening to this and you're in the middle of a catch-up of trying to go from season 3 all the way to catching up with 5 so that you can go into 6 fresh, know that we do have season 6 recorded, and it's there for you, and we may do like 1 or 2 more episodes just about 6 or something like that. But we have every episodic commentary already published for you. Just got to navigate.
And it's great. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah. Zach, let's get into the categories. Let's finish and wrap up season 3.
Best scene. What you got? It's going to be the one that I've got written down, I'm sure.
It's tough because I have like 3.
Well, then, since you have 3, I'll go because I got 1.
Okay. I
think my favorite on this one was the meeting between Tommy and Alfie.
Okay.
It was a great dynamic. It was interesting. It was I don't want to say it was the beginning of Michael's character development here into this shell of himself, but it definitely was a very major step in that direction. But I mean, Alfie made some good points, so I'll leave it at that.
It's hard to not pick a scene where you have the dynamic between Tommy Shelby and Alfie Solomons.
That's true.
It's tough, but I'll zag.
I think they win most of my favorite.
I'll zag, and I'll say the whole family being arrested scene is my favorite from the episode. Just the whole thing, from Tommy's spiel about the king's killing for the king's shilling, that whole thing. That's my favorite.
I am a sucker for the shots where we have the entire family together.
Likewise.
It feels like a solid army of friends and family. I mean, it's great. Any others you wanna call out there?
I do love the final scene with Tatiana and the reveal that she had been working with Tommy in cahoots with him to get the jewels out of there. I do love that scene a lot. So those are my top 3. And then the montage of the Michael killing Hughes and the blow up of the train and Tommy in the tunnel.
Yeah. Alrighty. Best line or lines of the episode.
It's maybe Alfie. It might be Alfie. Because Alfie is great because he goes from being like raving lunatic mad to I did not know about the boy. And he says, I know. I saw. That's a great line.
Yeah.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. It's the king's killing for the king's shilling that didn't exist in the show, but he says something like that.
Yeah.
He says something like that, and I liked it. Go ahead.
Yeah. The 2 that I have was Arthur's line, which was just, I guess he was kind of trying to talk himself into blowing up the train. Who wants to be in heaven when you can be sending men to fucking hell?
Yeah.
And then the second one was Tommy's line. Like reading the line, I feel like it's less of him being like, oh, you're all with me, you're all here for the money, and more of a just like, this is all I can do for you, right? Because his line is, this is all I can give you for what you give me, your hearts and your souls.
Yeah,
right.
It's very
almost
much
like I can't. It's hard to repay you for that, but this is all I have, so take it.
Well, he's genuinely probably horrified by the hell he's put his family through, because for the most part, he has been able to shield them from the stuff that he has gotten into.
Yeah,
the separate deals, like the economic league deal, I think he considers that to be his burden, not his family's burden. And this time, it leaked completely over into the family. He almost
entirely
ruined a relationship with Paulie and the portrait artist. He asked Arthur to kill 6 innocent men. Michael freaking popped his murder cherry and killed 2 people.
3.
3. Yeah, 3. And Johnny Dogs is kind of scot-free back there, though, and Curly.
Yeah, I mean, they were just digging a hole.
Yeah.
Not even. He was just camping there. He wasn't even digging.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right.
I mean, just think about the fact that like when he delivers that line, he already knew his entire family was going to be arrested.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Most memorable character or characters?
Everyone kind of does their thing in this episode. You got to give it. I'm going to say this is a team trophy here. Tommy, Arthur, John, even John, Paulie, Michael, Alfie, Tatiana. Everybody does their thing.
Yeah. I mean, this episode kind of had a similar feeling like the last one did, right? Like the last episode, everybody had a shining moment. I don't know if everybody had a shining moment in this one, but they really, really did.
I think everybody did.
Great being there.
I think everybody did have a shining moment. You have Tommy's always, Michael for sure with what he went through in this episode.
Paulie for sure.
Arthur with his confliction. John trying to comfort Arthur.
I feel like I didn't see Ada much though.
No, Ada was not very in this episode very much. No,
she's the only one for me that wasn't like in there. So outside of her, I would agree. It was the majority of the family in this one. But
that's because Ada deals with legitimate business.
Yeah, and legitimate business comes first.
Exactly. All right. Anything else?
No, that's all I got, man. I'm just excited for us to get into season 4, and for the people listening to this, if you're listening to it when this episode drops, I'm excited for you to watch season 6.
Yeah, so am I. I may be joining them tomorrow.
I think I will too.
I'll be watching at the very least. I'll probably rewatch the whole damn thing. We haven't rewatched it.
No, we've only watched it one time, so it might be interesting to see what takeaways we have when we rewatch it.
Yeah, yep. All right.
Until then,
thank you for tuning in once again. I'm going to implore you all at the end of each of these episodes to please like, subscribe, rate the show. 5 stars if you love us. 5 stars if you don't. And Zach, you end it with the rest of the conclusions.
For sure. Well, if you do leave a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll shout you out on the show. But other than that, thank you for listening to episode 6 of season 3 of the Peaky Blinders podcast by Story Archives. You can find this podcast anywhere you find podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can find us on Instagram at Story Archives, and you can visit our website at storyarchives.themidnightexchange.com, which brings us into the podcast network, The Midnight Exchange. You can visit the website there at themidnightexchange.com. There's a whole bunch of links to other podcasts, social media, and if you want to drop us an email at podcast@themidnightexchange.com.
Thank you all once again. Stay peaky and enjoy season 6 as the Peaky Blinders journey comes to an end. Until next time.
Stay peaky.